Okay, class, Professor Krush here, and today I'm going to just spend a little time doing an overview of my value grid project. And these are some finished pieces in terms of what the value grid looks like. Basically, to do the value grid, what we're doing is taking the full intensity of a color, whether it's black or blue or red or yellow, and we're mixing white. And by mixing white, we're making different values in terms of the full intensity of the color, which is black here, white. White still is painted, even though white is like the white of the paper. And this is the notebook page, which I'll get to in a minute. Anyway, this is like 50% gray in terms of mixing. This is 75% and this is 25%. So they all go through that same routine. Full intensity of the color. Now this one is black. With the other ones, it's not sometimes monochromatic. You can mix black and mix white. We're not doing that. We're just using the full intensity of the color for the darkest value. Kind of modeling what you would do if you were working on the computer, where you have a color and then you're lowering the opacity to less and less, which in printing terms would be screening that color to fine dots where it's less coverage and it looks lighter and lighter and lighter. So this is what black and white looks like. This is what the blue version looks like. Again, full intensity of the blue. It's very dark blue, kind of like an ultramarine blue. And here's the 50%, 75, and 25 in white. I would always recommend to do the full intensity, the white, and then do a 50. And this way you divide and conquer, because if you feel like there's something that's halfway between white and the color, full intensity of the color, then you can go darker and lighter, and it's a little easier than trying to go light and then work across. So that's what blue looks like. Here's one in red. For the project, basically you're doing black and white, and then you have a choice of red or blue to choose one of these. So here's full red. Again, 25, 50, 75 in white. And here's what happens in yellow. Yellow is very interesting. Yellow is the most challenging because yellow translates already to a very light value. So if you already have a light value and you're trying to split this into 25%, 50%, and 75% of that yellow, it's kind of hard to see the difference. But we're not adding black. Very important. Again, we're just going the full intensity of the color and trying to get a value range, okay, by adjusting it through that one color. Different yellows are even going to be more challenging. This is more like a cadmium yellow deep, and this is more like a regular primary yellow, which goes a little bit cooler, like a lemon yellow. And you can see the difference in terms of it almost looks orange in comparison. So depending on the primary colors that you're working with, the yellow that you have, everybody's going to have slightly different results. But you can see again the subtlety of trying to split the difference in here and going from light to dark. And then there's one here that's even lighter yet. This wouldn't be a color to recommend. This is probably a cadmium yellow light, or actually a lemon yellow. Whatever this yellow is, that's really not much to work with there. And still, the student did a good job getting a nice range going through there. So that's what the finished pieces look like. This is what the handouts look like. I've laid something out where you can print this, and it's hard to see, but in light gray it says 100%, 25%, 50%, 75, and white. So for this one, you have full intensity of the black. And what you'd be doing is, this is the notebook paper. Do not, under any circumstances, paint on the notebook paper. You're painting on the Bristol paper or the Ledger bond paper, and you're going to be cutting those. If you look here, you can actually see these are actually paint chips that have been cut, which you can see in the step-by-step photos that I have how that works. So here's black, here's blue or red, given a choice, and here's yellow. So those are the three that you need to complete. All right, and again, it's laid out so you can just cut those chips, fit them into place, And it brings us to the chips. If you're going to paint these chips, what I recommend, okay, is that maybe in light pencil, you make some boxes, some rough boxes where you know it is substantially larger than the chip that you have to cut out and paste into the page. So these are 2 inches by 2 inches. These are probably more, at least 3 by 3. You don't have to be, you can eyeball it. You can tell it's pretty obvious that this is a lot larger than what needs to be cut out of it. And this is ultimately what you're going to be working from. Here's white, here's the 100% blue, and by mixing white and blue together, you're getting that 50, and then you're trying to go darker and between these two to get the 75, and lighter than the white between here and here and here to get the 25%. What does this look like in terms of your palette paper pads? I'm getting over laryngitis, so hopefully I'll hold up. Here's the blue that was used in this. So I squeezed a lot of blue out right here, squeezed out a substantial amount of white. Okay, use a lot of white. Usually they come in larger tubes. And then it's palette knife time. And very important to use a palette knife. Don't rely on using a paintbrush. It doesn't work as good. And a palette knife is a lot easier to clean off quickly. So when I have, this is all dry now, but I'm holding it, you know, for the demo. So you see here's the white, here's the blue, and as you're mixing different amounts, here's that 50, okay? And that 50% is what ends up being used here. Here's the 75% and here's the 25%. So it's really that easy. I mean, you're just starting with your white and starting with the full intensity of the color, whether it's the blue, whether it was the yellow. If it was yellow, I'd be squeezing out white, yellow, and then mixing accordingly to get this range. It's just that, again, yellow is pretty challenging because you have a pretty narrow range. Black, obviously, is the most intense, and you have a full range. It's easier to see to break down those values. So as you're doing this, what you want to do is when you get these things painted, you can take one of these extra sheets, okay, and use it as like a template. So in other words, you need 3 of these that have to stay pristine, perfect, because you're going to be cutting chips and putting them down into here. But you can always take tracing paper to this size of these boxes, or you can take extra sheets of this, which I'll show you. So here's an example. Okay, I know there's a lot of stuff here. I'll try and keep it organized. But here's, like, say, a bunch of ones that were done for the grays. So here's black, here's 75%, 50%, 25%. And what I've done with this was I put this sheet, it's already cut out so you don't see the white paper, but I put the sheet over that area, just like as if it was going to be here. And then I'm taking the metal ruler and an X-Acto knife and carefully, and not moving it underneath, I'm cutting through here, cutting through here, cutting through here. And when I'm done, I get this wonderful chiclet that's been cut out of right here. Okay, and carefully, that is hit with some paper cement or rubber cement, okay, on the back of it, and putting this down into place. If you want to press it down hard, do not use your fingers. Hold a piece of paper over it, okay, and kind of burnish it a little bit that way in terms of getting that chip into place. And what's nice with the rubber cement is that you can use a rubber cement pickup, these funky little gummy square things, and when you go around the edges, it'll lift any of the excess glue and keep it really clean and make a really nice presentation. So as far as brushes, this is a nice, fairly stiff, flat brush. That was the brush that I was using to go back to here. Again, well, this is a different one. I'm sorry. Let me go back to this one. So this was the brush that I was using And again, here's the color, so I'm taking color from here. And what I do is I tend to just keep going one way to cover the area. Underneath here is like a light pencil line, so I know that I'm covering the amount of area. Then I go this way, and then I'll hold the brush pretty flat and just lightly try and come across this way. You're trying to get a nice, even, consistent tone. Okay, so that's kind of where it's at. And you know that, look, you do the best you can. I know a lot of you are new to this, but the more that you do it, you'd actually get a little bit better at it. These are what some of the other ones look like from the past. Here was like 100%, 75, 50, and 25. Notice it's a very kind of different blue. This is the blue that goes more into like violet in the blue. This is the blue that's more kind of maybe a better representation of typical primary blue. Whatever colors you have that you're working from covering the primaries, for me, it's fine. We're doing regular primaries. We're not doing co-primaries. So if you have that chip carefully put down, then what, of course, you're doing is cutting the other ones and placing them into position. Okay, and as far as I showed you a brush, very important to have a water container nearby. Very important to constantly keep that brush clean. Don't start like thinking, well, it's clean enough, and start going from a light to a darker one. All your paints are going to get mixed up that way in terms of trying to keep that nice separation from your different values in those colors. So these are the sheets. These are the ones, again, these are the pages. And when they're all done and complete, this was pretty much the kind of results that you're going to get from it. And I'm hoping that you know, if you'd like to do technical things, you'll actually enjoy doing it. Maybe you'll do a great job. If you struggle with it, you know, again, do the best you can. You can see this isn't perfect. There's little gaps in here and stuff. I'm not after perfection. It's more about understanding the values, okay, and being able to divide them out and go through the fundamentals of that you got the concept down well. All right, so I think that's pretty much it. Again, I have so many things here, but I'm just trying to review for myself if there's anything else to cover. I would not go right away to the yellow. The first one to do clearly would be the black and white. It tends to be the easiest because you have such an easy chance at really seeing the range of values. All right, and then do choice. Remember, it's a choice. Do I want to do blue? Do I want to do red? There's no need to do 4. You only need to do 3. So you have blue or red, and then, of course, you have one where it's the yellow. All right, so between that and step-by-step images, which I have loaded into Blackboard on this project for the value grid, you should have a lot of help, and I hope that it makes it kind of you know, easier to approach doing this, especially for a lot of you that have little to no experience with this kind of thing. Okay, thank you and good luck.